At the recent Synthplex show in Burbank, I gave a talk on the Prophet VS and vector synthesis. Unfortunately, we did not get an actual VS into the room till the very end, and we could not get it to make a sound. So I thought for those who missed that, let's go ahead and drag out my old war-torn, really beat-up Prophet VS, and show you some of the sounds I intended to demonstrate. Now, I intended to start out just showing you the raw power of this instrument, and one of the earliest patches, number 03, is called Volcanic. You can hear how the sound circulates, and as we put some pressure on, it goes back and forth in stereo. That's a good deep sound. Another favorite is feedback. It's actually two voices layered. And then another favorite is rock rock. It's also capable of some far more subtle type sounds. For example, you'll notice how the strike of the initial note is very heavy, but then it fades into something much more soft. Nice gentle sound there. I joked that there was a patch called Is There. This was our test patch, just to make sure that Prophet VS indeed woke up and told us that it was there. And you'll notice how the key off sound is different. That's taking advantage of the release part of the envelope to fade to a different waveform. Mass 2 is a nice big thick sound. Kind of our take on a synthetic pipe organ. And a personal favorite of mine, I might even have programmed this, for Pino or Fripp and Eno. And that's fading in different oscillators that have been tuned to different intervals. And you start to hear there a little bit of the noise I talked about. And I'll demonstrate that in just a second. But first I had to show you, marketing said they didn't want any part of this if it couldn't do a DX7 slap bass. So we programmed several bass sounds into it, like twang bass. I mentioned a lot about the deficiencies of the hardware, and particularly how you could hear extra noise, particularly exposed when the filter has been opened up. You can really hear that on high notes. Let's go ahead and bring up some of those sounds. For example, if I bring up one of my favorite power sounds that we started off with, Volcanic, you really hear the noise swirling on the high notes. You also hear some of the enharmonics of jittering the tuning for those high notes. Not quite as bad there. Bit of noise on that one. Another example, Elfin, a very tiny little sound. It's almost more noise than pitch at that point. You hear how the character of the noise changes with different keys, different notes. This was the dithering that Josh used to try to approximate the right pitch, since our chip was not accurate enough to exactly land on those semitones. Another example, an orchestra, or not an orchestra. Can you really hear it up there? Now if we play low notes when the filter has been closed down, you don't really hear the noise. It's just exposed on these higher pitches. And then the last thing that I promised to show you was its random patch generator. There's a handful of interesting random patches in here, such as sound effects, Starts off as Cats in Space, but then gets a bit crazy. You can really hear the dip of the looping envelope. It's very slow from stage 1 to 2, 2 back to 1, but then this little segment back to 0 is very fast. We weep, and then down again. There's something different on the key off. And then one of my favorite, Toy Plane. The VS came up with this one all by itself. Now the way to create a random patch on the Prophet VS is to hold down the Enter key and press 2. It says that you're editing, and it makes up the name even. That's actually not too bad of a starting point. That's something you could whip into a sound. Enter 2. Cool use of looping envelopes. The VS is in a good mood today. What else do we have? Whoa! Excuse me. Laser blast. Let me turn that down a bit. Okay. What else we got here? Cats on drugs in space. But that's pushing it to its extremes. I think the VS is just, a lovely sounding instrument. It could do string sounds. Remember, we promised it could sound like a Prophet 5 as well as a BBG. Lovely, lush, coarse string sound. And what else? Pull up another one here. Oh yeah, here's a real layered up bass. Zenny is among our basses, and comp bass. Take that, marketing. We could do a slap bass with this instrument. Anyway, that's the Prophet VS and what it sounds like, and what I had hoped to share with you at Synthplex. Maybe I'll get a chance to show something different to you next year.